and welcome to a solo session of the VGL podcast. I'm a gaming psychologist, not joining anyone. Figured I would do this week instead of doing an update or dropping something else. Give you guys some updates, talk about a couple of games that I have played that probably wouldn't make it into an and hopefully set us up for success the next few weeks. First off, new microphone. I had to replace my old one, so I don't know how it's going to sound. Obviously, be able to hear it in editing, and I'll come back and clean up if there's any issues. But things like quietness or background noise or whatever, I'm going to be doing my best. I'm still kind of learning on that one. My old microphone, which I've had since 2018, my Marantz professional recording mic, which they don't make anymore. Like, Marantz is still a brand as far as I know, but my microphone, that lineage is dead. I have no idea what happened to it. It got to where that it would just go dead all the time. Like, the sound would drop to zero, and you could bump it back up, but then it, within like a couple of minutes, tank back down to zero. So I tried driver issues or driver things. I tried looking programs or anything else on my computer that might be making it do that, but I could use the microphone on my gaming headset and it would not do that. And I could use other USB microphones and they would not do that. So I don't know if something has gone wrong with the circuitry inside the mic and it keeps setting itself to zero. But either way, I had to replace it. So rest in peace, Marantz professional recording microphone. I bought, if I was a prepared boy, I would have pulled this up. But I was not a prepared boy. All of this off the cuff, because that's how I roll. Alright, so I bought the SteelSeries Alias. I got the one that did not come deck. Need that. Just the microphone. And based on a whole bunch of current ratings and reviews and stuff I looked at, I figured I would try this one. So I assume it's going to sound good. Actually, I know it sounds good. I have done some testing with it, but this is the first time I've recorded using it. So, anyways, yeah. There are pros and cons now to be a small business owner, but anything that I can justify as a tax write-off, you bet your ass. And because I do telehealth therapy exclusively now, I need a good microphone. So, anyways, that I suppose is neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and kind of talk about the last few weeks. I think I've brought this up before. Rage and I have been struggling to find good times to record together. Combination of his job, my schedule. Granted, that is evening out some now that I am totally operating on my own as opposed to only moonlighting on my own and still another clinic. But Rage still works So lots of times either something happens with the work schedule and there's a conflation, or he's just tired, or I'm just tired. We're getting old, man. We're getting old. So the newness of recordings obviously has slowed down quite a bit this year especially, and as we ran out of Franken content, I have been going back and updating. By updating, I mean cleaning up old audio files, re-release like the game clubs. I am trying to line up a few sort of, guest hosts or interviews to kind of have sitting in the tank. Nothing crazy. Some people that I know in the gaming space have done, for example, game jams recently, or are streamers or are artists. One of which who has been featured on the show before, Lexi, also known as Pink Spooter, for all of her things. I'm trying to set something up so she can come back on. And by I say trying, if she listens to this, because I know she listens to the show before I have a chance to talk to her. Hi, Lexi. I want you to do an interview with me because she's just on the list, and I haven't talked to her. But anyways, wanted to get her on to talk about Game Jam that she's done. A couple of Game Jams. But anyways, so I want to line some of those things up and have them in the tank so that it's not just recycled content. With only, sort of one new episode a month. We've been trying to prioritize the Game Club releases as opposed to regular episodes, speaking of which. So the next Game Club release is a game which I have played pretty extensively in the past. I probably should play some now for a refresher, but I have gotten through nearly the entirety of the main story of that game. So that's what we're going to be doing for September. But we've been prioritizing the game clubs. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, in politics, and around us, and sometimes we just talk about that. Maybe we'll have an episode or two politics focused again. If you guys listen to this and you're like, absolutely fucking not, there's too much politics in our world right now, we want you to talk about dumb game shit, then let us know. But anyways, that's some things I'm trying to line up in the pipeline. Some of these interviews to pad back out the Franken content. I am going to pick some topics to do some solo recordings. The fact of the matter is I have way more free time to record now than Rage does. I work from home. I'm at my computer all the time. And the more that I get certain systems in place for my clinic, the less I'm going to need to spend every second when I'm not seeing clients or filling out paperwork. I can spend that time doing things like this, working on my hobbies and my personal projects and things like that. So I'm going to have some solo material ready as well that I'm going to pre-record to release. So if you guys, I might, we've got a huge backlog of things that come in, like in the suggestions, for example. I might talk about some of those solo, or I might find some news topics of my own to talk about solo, and we'll see how those things welcome aided. As for today, just want to talk a little bit about some games that I have been playing myself here lately. Either have things that I've revisited, which I think this is all stuff that I'm looking at the list. Actually, I think I'm only going to talk about. So the one thing that I'm definitely going to talk about is a game by the name of Star Sector. I've talked about Star Sector on the show in either 2019 or 2020. This game has been in active development since, I think, 2012. It's undergone several huge shifts in that time frame. While the basic gameplay and the core mechanics have remained the same, feature lists have expanded, and then there have been some fairly large in the type of gameplay to age with. What Star Sector is a top-down, 2D, space everything game. Space sim, space strategy, space trading, space 4X. It really, I think the closest example to a game that I could compare it to is it's a 2D X series game, such as X3 or X4. It is one of those. You start the game, you can either do one of the pre-existing starts, or you can do a random start, or you can do a custom start. You pick a captain, a starting ship, or one of the scenarios it gives you. And then, unless you're playing the tutorial start, it just drops you into the universe and says, go wild, do what you want, have fun. You start with one or two ships. There might be a start that allows you to have more ships, but so far I've only seen 2 ship starts. And you build up whatever type of thing that you want to do. If you want to be a pirate, be a pirate. If you want to work for one of the major factions, work for one of the major factions. If you want to be sort of a freelancer type of individual, doing whether that's space trading or space mining, or taking on various missions for whoever is paying the highest amount, you can do that. You, of course, build a reputation, sort of notoriety, infamy based on your actions with various factions. Obviously, everybody, except for other pirates, hates pirates. But then otherwise, there are 2 major factions in the game, and then several minor factions that have various amounts of power to them, and have different relationships with the major factions, and you can go. Generally speaking, unless you're a pirate, although you can become a pirate with a large fleet, generally speaking, unless you're a pirate, you probably will be building up a fleet, which over time, I am not 100% sure how big the fleets can get. I've got a fleet right now that has 12 ships in it, and that's, I'm doing sort of one of the game's story starts. I've got 12 ships in my fleet of various types and sizes, and am mostly focused on completing missions. But these fleets allow you to do various things, such as have giant trade convoys, which you can protect. There is a very large amount of star systems. There's some random generation to it. There's always sort of a core system that is the same, but every start that you get otherwise is randomized with different systems, different placements of very minor factions or objectives or things to explore. And so I just got lost a little in my head. I apologize. Anyways, I have to come back to my fleet. I'm pretty mission focused. Oh, I know what I was saying. One of the things that you can do is build up these fleets, trade convoys that have their own escorts or exploration fleets where you can go and explore the generated galaxy that you were a part of. Doing so allows you to do things like colonize your own star systems, build your own infrastructure, create your own faction. I don't fully yet know how big you can go with that because I haven't done it yet. That was sort of their most recent major feature update that kind of got me back in the game when I saw it. I'm pushing towards that mark, but I'm not there yet. So perhaps in a few weeks or a few months, I'll be back with another update on that. But that is kind of the new endpoint if you're not focused on faction missions or some of the other storyline aspects, is pushing out to build your own colonies and create your own faction and do your own thing. The game allows for a great deal of customization. You can fully customize any of the ships. To my knowledge, you can't build your own, like design your own ships, but any ship type that exists in the game. He's got various modules. There are basic things you can customize, such as different weapons, different sort of basic pieces of the ship, but there are also ship upgrades that you can get that can completely break the mold for what a ship is supposed to be. For example, as long as a ship is big enough, you can take a ship and give any ship a hangar, a fighter bay hangar or a bomber hangar or a drone hangar, again, as long as they're big enough. So you can take things that are not designed to be carriers and turn them into like pocket carriers, which, of course, fighters and drones are force multipliers in one of these games or in reality as well. Or you can take a ship and you can strip it out. You can take an old military ship, because there are different classes of ships: civilian, military, pirate, commercial, etc. And military ships, not always, but much of the time, ultimately give you the most hull space to work with for a given ship's class or size, because often you can strip out a lot of the extra armor and support that comes with a military vessel, and you can turn them into these massive trade haulers, or you can really make some glass cannon builds or some ridiculous like fleet carriers out of ships that are smaller than they should be, or than smaller than should be able to do that. On top of that, your character, your captain, has abilities that you can gain over time as you gain experience for doing all of these things: completing missions, trading, fighting, etc. And as you level up, you gain points that you can put into these abilities. I don't know what the max level is. I've read that you can't max out everything, so you kind of have to pick and choose. And you can pick things that are sort of generic, helpful skills. You can pick things that are more fleet-oriented, like fleet bonuses. You can pick things that are more personal, ship-oriented. So if you'd like to do a lot of focus on piloting your own ship and leaving the AI when they're fighting to their own devices, then that helps you. And so far, I tend to go towards fleet stuff or things that are sort of generically helpful, like you get better trade deals, or you get quicker faction increases or lower faction decreases, depending on what types of mission activities. But one thing that it does, as you level up, are you gain story points, I think is what they're called. And this is like, the idea is that it's like you're telling your story about your captain, and so maybe because of your expertise or blind luck or whatever, you have a ship or an interaction with a mission or something that is not normal, that is, above and beyond something, fancy. Like, so you can, modules that absolutely should not be able to fit on a ship at all, for example, like a fighter bay on a shuttlecraft or a frigate. If you have enough story points and you want to make your shuttle have a tiny like fighter on it or a drone, you can do that. You can spend story points to do things like that, which I love. You can get really fucking crazy with those. Find some wild or weird little, pocket like cannon ships. The story points that you spend on things like that can be regained. Story points that you spend on missions, as far as I can tell, cannot. So most of the time, I don't see a reason why you'd want to spend story points on specific or special mission outcomes unless you're doing a playthrough on one of the campaigns and you want to see what some of those special story outcomes can get. The training mission or the tutorial campaign has you spend some on some of the campaign missions to see the extra outputs or the extra like things that they give you. It's like bonus rewards, bonus reputation, additional ways to complete mission objectives that are not listed to you originally. So it certainly is an interesting idea, but as far as I can tell, they do not regenerate from that. So it doesn't make sense to me to use them in that way unless you're just going to do one of the campaigns and then go start another playthrough or something. So all in all, Star Sector is a very good, very fun game. It's because of the sort of graphical nature of what it is. I think it will run on a potato. I don't have a weak computer. My gaming laptop is quite old at this point, but even still, like, it is better than sort of a generic laptop or something like that you would buy today. So I can't 100% test that it will run on a potato, but it doesn't stress either of my systems at all. It does. I don't know if this is because of its age or it's a deliberate design decision at this point. I'm not sure. It does have some limitations in the options department. Not necessarily the graphics options, but things like borderless window. It doesn't do borderless window at all, and I think that sucks. But beyond that, it is a very good, very serviceable game. So, one that I'd recommend. It's not very expensive. It's like $20. You cannot get it on Steam. I'm not sure if you have ever been able to get it on Steam, but now, at the moment, you cannot. But like I said, it's like $20. You can just Google Star Sector, and you can go look at their entire devlog, going back over a decade, purchase the game, get a key from them. The developers are really nice. I knew that I had bought this game before, but I could not find my key. I reached out to them, and they were like, yeah, absolutely, where's your key? And, like, yes, you would, like, that's, like, the bare minimum that you expect, but they were quick, they were polite, they were super kind in their messaging, like, thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. Good, excellent developer, at least everything that I have seen. Excellent developer, and I would recommend this game. And I think I'm going to leave it there. I know that this is going to be short. Once the edit is done, it's probably going to come in at under 20 minutes. But, I'm a busy lad, and I just wanted to give you guys something that was a live, recent voice as something that was pre-canned from the past. If you want to, if you're hearing this for the first time, because I have mentioned to some people that I have a podcast that I hadn't talked to before. So if you're hearing this for the first time, welcome. You can contact us. The best way to contact us is on our Discord. We have a Gmail, VGLpodcast@gmail.com. But, like, I'm not going to lie, I haven't checked that Gmail in a couple of years. I don't know if Rage does. So our Discord, VGL Podcast, is the best way to get in touch with us. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. As always, James McLeod, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye now.